I was going to say good morning, everyone, because usually when I'm here, I'm always saying good morning to folks, but it's actually good evening. And folks, I can't believe that we actually made it, because in 2020, we canceled Christmas Eve because it was the first year of COVID, and then in 2021, right at the last minute, we canceled Christmas Eve because it was still COVID. And then last year, we got hit by the biggest snowstorm since that snowstorm in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, where they almost don't make it out. But so we had to cancel Christmas Eve then. But now we're here. It's good to be together with all of you. It's good to be able to see some new faces with us this evening. Welcome to the space. My name is Reverend Isaac Mundy. I'm the minister here at Trenton United Church. If you're wondering why are we hanging out in this hall downstairs when it looks like there's some kind of sanctuary thing upstairs, we've had a bit of ceiling issues over the last few months, and we're working on those repairs and hoping to be able to take some steps soon in terms of creatively working in terms of repairing those items. But for the moment, we've been worshiping down here. We worshiped down here this morning. We had a really great group of mummers who were dressed up with me up at the front this morning. Anybody, so I was born in Newfoundland. Anybody here else born in Newfoundland? Oh, right on. Okay, awesome. Good to have you folks with us tonight. So we're not going to do any mummering tonight, but I do have some writings from a Newfoundland artist by the name of Tim Baker, who was part of a really great band called Hey Rosetta, and now he's a solo artist as well, but we'll be moving through some of his writing, and we're going to be doing lots of singing. Anybody here like Christmas carols? Anybody? Yeah, okay, right on. We got lots of Christmas carols that will be taking place. Just a couple notes. If this is one of your first times being in this space, there is a bathroom right through that hallway. Just, the red doors that you came in, it's just around the corner from there. If there's anybody who feels like they just need a break from hearing me talk, we've got a room right over there called the Awesome Room that has lots of awesome stuff for young people to be able to work on over there. Oh yeah, are you thinking of going to the Awesome Room? Is that right? No? Okay.
It's done already.
Yeah. Just give me a couple minutes, but I'll. You can head over too. It's all good. Yeah, we've got lots of books and different things, coloring materials.
I love books.
Awesome, you love books? Sweet, perfect, love it. Let me think too. Oh, did anybody get one of these? Has anybody? Are there any ravers here tonight? Well, if you've never used a glow stick before, we don't have the part to be able to attach them, I think, in terms of the wristband, but don't do it yet, because we're going to do it later on. But you kind of snap it in a couple different places, sort of bend it, and then you like shake it up, and don't worry, it will glow. So for our second last hymn, we're going to be using our glow sticks to light up the night. And then for our last hymn, usually here at Trenton United, at least while I've been here, we've sung Silent Night. And what I'm going to invite you to do is to sing Silent Night as we're heading out to the parking lot. Did folks park in the parking lot? Maybe you parked upstairs too. Doesn't really matter, but I'm thinking we can all sing together. So Diane will start us off in terms of as we sing, but then we'll head out into the parking lot. And you know what? If you get to verse 3 and there's still people coming out, just head back to verse 1, and then you can head into your cars. And though, just to let you know, there are people who spend time here each night from December 1st until March 31st. We have a warming center in our lower level, and actually last Christmas Eve, when there was that giant snowstorm, there were folks who were coming from the 401 who got stranded out on the 401, but this became a warm space for people to come and stay. And I know that Betty was talking to lots of different people that week, so a lot better weather this Christmas Eve, but it's good to know that there are folks arriving, and so hopefully we can be singing to them as well as they're arriving as we're moving out from this space. And actually, if you're thinking too, you saw maybe some donation boxes on the way in, and maybe you thought, oh, I don't really use like cash anymore, and that's not really my thing. We've got a QR code right here on the back of our the music. Do you have these things? Do you know how QR codes work? You just kind of open up your phone, you go to the camera app, you just go like that, it reads the QR code, takes you to a link. It's bringing me over. Well, the Wi-Fi is a little You might not be on the Wi-Fi, so it's all good. If you want to make a donation online, you are more than welcome to do so. I think that those are all the announcements that I'm going to bring to your attention this morning. But before we greet one another this evening, it's ingrained in me. Before we offer one another a sign of Christ's peace this evening, I'm going to invite Carol to come forward, and Diane and Carol are going to lead us in an introit of a little town event. And friends, usually at the beginning of our services, we rise at the beginning of the service to greet one another with a sign of Christ's peace and offer the peace sign to one another. So I'll invite you to rise as you feel able, and I'll invite Kinsley and Hunter forward as well as we're greeting one another with the sign of Christ's peace. Joining now in our candle lighting liturgy. We've been lighting these candles all through the season of Advent, and we'll light one more this evening.
Why do we light this candle today?
Because we trust that Christ is in our midst.
Just with us at Christmas time,
Jesus draws near to all people with all creation for all time.
And as we light the candle, let's sing together our last verse of A Candle is Burning. Reading for us this evening, Stu? Great. Come on up.
The first scripture reading is from Luke 2, verses 1 to 8 from the Message translation. About that time, Caesar Augustus ordered a census to be taken throughout the empire. This was the first census when Quirinius was governor of Syria. Everyone had to travel to their own ancestral hometown to be accounted for. So Joseph went from the Galilean town of Nazareth up to Bethlehem in Judah, David's town, for the census. As a descendant of David, he had to go there. He went with Mary, his fiancée, who was pregnant. While they were there, the time came for her to give birth. She gave birth to a son, her firstborn. She wrapped him in a blanket and laid him in a manger because there was no room in the hostel.
And I'll invite you to rise as you feel able to sing the first two verses of Once in Royal David's City.
Once in royal days.
So, folks, the poem that I'm going to be reading with you a little bit this evening, I'm going to read a couple different verses, comes from a song called Carry Me Home. I'm not going to try and sing it all for you to hear, but I will speak the words. And it's a bit of a story about somebody who is on a journey, and he's traveling on Christmas Eve, and things quite haven't gone the way that he had hoped. So I'll read the first verse of this poem for you. This hotel is cheap, and the pillows stink, and there's not a single thing to say it's Christmas Eve. Oh, St. Nicholas, I know I ain't in your list, but if you're listening, I need a bus ticket. I came through Montreal. I lost a lot of dough, could find no honest job, so I did some other ones. Got into trouble, I had to run or suffer. And then a long road into a long December. So the imagery that we have here is somebody who's come to Christmas Eve and is having some issues, has had some trouble in his life, and is looking to be able to find his way home. But he hasn't found his way home there yet. And all through these poems, he speaks about different saints. And a lot of the time in the United Church of Canada, we don't speak a ton about saints. There are other Christian traditions that do. But I thought it was kind of interesting because he touches on a few different saints. One of them, has anybody here ever heard of St. Nicholas? Jolly old St. Nicholas. We talk about him a lot, right, at Christmas time. And some people say that St. Nicholas is Santa Claus. Some say it was maybe his cousin or his grandfather. We're not completely sure. But what we do know is we talk a lot about him at Christmas. And when we think about St. Nicholas, he's actually a patron saint of a few different kinds of people and things in life. And so St. Nicholas is a patron saint for children, which makes sense, right, in terms of when we think about Christmas and St. Nicholas bringing presents. Patron saint of students. I didn't know this. Apparently he's also the patron saint of brewers. I just learned this recently. The patron saint of pawnbrokers. I don't know if anybody knew that here. If anybody needs to find a Christmas gift at the last minute, there is a pawnbroker just behind the church, so you can head over there. And also, apparently, he is the patron saint of repentant thieves as well. So if anybody stole something and wants to bring it to the pawnbrokers, then they can do that after this. No, we won't be thinking about that. He's there for a lot of different people in a lot of different situations, this figure of St. Nicholas. And I like that because he probably fits into the story of this individual in this poem, whose Christmas has been less than perfect. And I don't know about any of you, but I've had different Christmases and Christmas Eves that have been less than perfect. Has anybody ever been somewhere on a Christmas Eve where they really would have rather been somewhere else? Has that ever happened to anybody here before? I've had that happen where I haven't been able to be with family members. I've been on a bus traveling in the middle of nowhere in Europe, or being far away from my family when they were living in Ontario and I was living on the East Coast. And sometimes that's hard. And sometimes even when we're all together as a family, sometimes things can be tough. Maybe somebody gets sick, or maybe we got in an argument with somebody that we care about over the holidays. Is anybody in an argument right now with a... No, you don't have to answer that. That's okay. Or something happened with the food that we were preparing. There's all kinds of different things that can happen that make our Christmas Eves or our Christmases less than perfect. Can we just take a second, though, because probably each of us has had something, even maybe this year, that isn't absolutely exactly ideal. Can we just breathe into that imperfection for a moment? Can you just take a deep breath in, breathe out, breathe into that imperfection, and breathe out? Because we know, right, that first Christmas Eve was far from perfect. When we hear the story of Joseph and Mary arriving in Bethlehem and there being no space, and maybe they wanted to be with family but weren't able to. When we think about Bethlehem today and all of the different conflicts that are taking place in Israel and in Palestine, we know that our world is less than perfect and needs healing. When we think about even our space where we are right now and the fact that there will be people arriving soon who will be staying here on Christmas Eve downstairs, and probably for them, they would prefer not to be staying here, that maybe things are less than perfect for them. Even us worshiping in this space here, probably lots of us would like to be up in our sanctuary. And yet, even in the midst of all of the different points and places of imperfection, here we are. We've made it into this space, and we've come to draw closer to the Christ child. And so what I'm hoping when we think about St. Nicholas and coming to bring us gifts, we might not all get the perfect gifts, right? But we can take a moment to pray. And I'd like you to just take a moment in the quiet and think, what gift does my heart need right now? What gift does my heart need in the midst of imperfections? If I just got in an argument with somebody over supper, does my heart need peace or forgiveness? Or do I need to be forgiven? Do I need strength for the days ahead? Do I need just God's love in the midst of this place? Whatever we need, let's ask God for that. Whatever we need in our hearts, let's open our hearts to the one who loves us, to the one who will be with us both now and always. Friends, on this night, we are a people of God's gift, and we are a people that offer our gifts as well. In all the different ways that you folks support the life and work of this church, we give thanks. And together, we are going to sing our offering hymn as we bring some of our offerings forward to the front of our worship space. Speak the words of our offering prayer responsively. My parts will be in the faint text, and your parts will be in bold. How silently, the wondrous gift is given. You, God, impart to our human hearts the blessed gift of heaven. No ear may hear his coming, but in this world of sin, our meek souls will receive him still. May the dear Christ enter in.
The next scripture reading is from Luke chapter 2, verses 15 to 19 from the Message translation. As the angel choir withdrew into heaven, the shepherds talked it over. Let's get over to Bethlehem as fast as we can and see for ourselves what God has revealed to us. They left running and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in the manger. Seeing was believing. They told everyone they met what the angels had said about this child. All who heard the shepherds were impressed. Mary kept all these things to herself, holding them dear, deep within herself.
Friends, let's join now in singing our next carol, the first two verses of Infant Lowly, Infant Holy. next verse of Carry Me Home. Over the water, and over the border, and over the open land to this Ramada Inn. No overbooking here, no sort of holy birth, no miracles occurring, no, not a creature stirring. O Saint Stephen, where is your feast when I so sorely need it? When I've been hardly eating, but I give my food and drink to see my home again, to see my mother's hand against her apron edge. So folks, the story of the shepherds, we just heard Sue read us the story. Just want to circle back before we talk a bit more about the shepherds and their connection with the story of Mary and Joseph and Jesus. Just want to bring up the next saint that Tim Baker talks about in his poem, Saint Stephen, who sometimes we talk about at Christmas, and when he talks about Saint Stephen's feast, that usually happens on, or it always happens on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. I was doing a bit more reading because, as I was saying, I don't know a lot about different saints. Does anybody know what Saint Stephen is the patron saint for, or any of the things that Saint Stephen is a patron saint for? What's that?
Healing?
Healing? It could be. I don't really know that well, so you might be right, Katie. Let's say healing. But also, he was... Are there any casket makers here tonight? No? Patron saint of casket makers. Patron saint of bricklayers. And if any of you have been feeling really stressed out about Christmas or just had too much food and libations before you arrived here, he is also the patron saint of headaches. So you can look for relief from Saint Stephen. But probably we know best. We've heard the story of Saint Stephen, right? He's a person who is martyred early on in the book of Acts. But probably where we hear the most about Saint Stephen, or maybe at least in the English-speaking world, where we're most familiar with, or actually, you know what I'm going to do? We've been doing this all through the season of Advent, where I do the first line of a carol, and then you do the next line. So I'll hold my hands up, and when I point to you, you sing. You seem like good singers. You're up for this? I trust you. I think you're going to do well on this. Okay, so, good King Wenceslas looked out
On the feast of Stephen.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you know it. Okay, so you've heard of Saint Stephen before, right? And so oftentimes when we think about Saint Stephen, it's from this carol about good King Wenceslas, and there's that, there's the page, and then there's a person that they see outside, and good King Wenceslas decides to go with his page to go and bring some food and some help to this individual who is living in a tough situation. And then we get to the final verse that we sang when we brought up our offering just a little while ago. And what I really love about this image is it's these three people that are together in Good King Wenceslas that kind of become almost this chosen family during this Christmas season. I guess it would be on the second day of Christmas, right? When we're thinking of Boxing Day. This idea of these unlikely figures coming together. One, this rich king, one, this unexperienced page, and then an individual who is living outside of whatever estate it is that they are on and out in the wilderness. And yet they come together to be able to form a kind of family. And that image from the poem by Tim Baker, I don't know if you caught it at the very end, but he is imagining, even though he is in this Ramada Inn that is less than ideal, he is imagining being home again and seeing his mother's hand against her apron edge. I love that image. It is so homey and real, and it brings us probably back to memories that many of us have had at different Christmas times past. What I love in this image of the shepherds coming to see Mary and the baby Jesus is that in some ways it's kind of like a chosen family as well, because Mary and Joseph are distant from the ones that they love back in Nazareth, but here they are but a family surrounds them. God speaks good news to the shepherds and allows them to choose ways of being together that honor this coming of the Christ child into the world. And you know what? I was thinking as I was looking at this image and thinking about the poem and Good King Wenceslas and all these different configurations of family that we have, is that tonight we have come together to be one another's chosen family. We have come together to gather around the Christ child. You didn't have to be here, right? You could be at home watching Frosty the Snowman or Rudolph, or well, maybe somebody made you come to church. Sometimes that happens, right? Let's be real. But you're here, and I guess what my hope is that you have a sense of being a part of a family, that we have chosen one another, and perhaps more importantly, Christ has chosen us. Christ chooses to be with us, to make one another each other's members of a family, that we are brought together in God's love and adopted into a family in a new way of being together. And sometimes those families can look wacky and odd, but they are beautiful all the same. And we can offer our gratitude to God as we come together as a people of faith. Music team, would you folks as a chosen family be willing to stand up together and sing a song for us? I'm going to invite you to bow your heads with me in prayer. Creator, this Christmas Eve, be for us, Emmanuel, God with us. For those celebrating with family and loved ones, be our Glorias in excelsis Deo. For those relieved at the possibility of long winter nights, be our silent night. For those in Israel, in Palestine, in Gaza, in Bethlehem, in Ukraine, and Yemen, be our Prince of Peace. For those struggling to find warmth or shelter in our community and communities across our country, be a welcome in all our little towns of Bethlehem. For those who are suffering in their bodies, minds, and relationships, be our blessing in your tender care. For those who hear the call to love that rang out so long ago on a midnight clear, be our strength as we rise up and follow, praying the prayer that Christ gave us, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And Sue, I'll invite you up for one last reading.
The scripture reading is taken from the book of Matthew, chapter 2, verses 1 to 2 and 10 to 11, from the Message translation. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem village, Judah territory, this was during Herod's kingship. A band of scholars arrived in Jerusalem from the east. They asked around, "Where can we find and pay homage to the newborn King of the Jews? We observed a star in the eastern sky that signaled his birth. We're on a pilgrimage to worship him." Then the star appeared again, the same star they had seen in the eastern skies. It led them on, however, until it hovered over the place of the child. They could hardly contain themselves. They were in the right place. They had arrived at the right time. They entered the house and saw the child in the arms of Mary, his mother. Overcome, they kneeled and worshipped him. Then they opened their luggage and presented gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Thank you, Sue. Friends, would you sing with me now our next hymn, which is the first Noel. Let's sing the first 3 verses.
Was a certain portion.
What's one last verse from Carry Me Home? O Saint Christopher, send me a Christian word. Send me a southern wind. Oh, send me up to my kin. Hear the boys singing through their rowdy grinning. Oh, Jesus, Joseph, Mary, I hear their voices carry. Carry me home, home, home. Can any saints hear me? Is there any angel near me? If you won't lift me up, then would you send my love back to my home, back to my only shelter, where in the awful weather I will be warm and welcome, back to my home, home, home. Folks, this image of the three magi coming to Joseph and Mary and the baby Jesus camped out on a winter night, very different from a lot of the images that we have of Bethlehem. But I love this image of the Tim's coffee cups in the hands of the one gentleman, and maybe some soup down here, and a blanket being brought to these folks who are in need. And thinking about St. Christopher. St. Christopher, right, was the last saint that we heard about in Tim Baker's poem. Does anybody know what St. Christopher is the patron saint of? Travelers, yeah, good. I'm glad that I was going to get to that one. Apparently, if your headache is getting localized into your toothache, he's also the patron saint of toothaches. If you bit down on a Ferrero Rocher too hard, or also the patron saint if you're in the middle of a hailstorm. Apparently he's the one. But yes, travelers. St. Christopher is the one that many people call out to when they're on their way. And thinking about this image of home, right? Tim Baker is speaking about home and this desire to be able to head home, but he isn't there yet, and he is traveling. And in many ways, we are all travelers through this life. We desire a home. We want to be able to have that security. And of course, that's something that we want to be able to give to as many people in our world as possible. But we know that these last few days and the days to come as well, they are some of the biggest traveling days in our country and around the world. There was an image that came up in something that I was watching on Apple TV. Has anybody ever seen, it's like a half-hour animated special. I love cartoons. If you come here a lot, you know I like cartoons. Has anybody watched The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse? Anybody here? It's a pretty good one. Oh, yeah, these folks, I watched with them. It's good. And there's one point at the end where there's a boy and he's with his animal companions, and he's thinking about going into a village, but then he turns back and he looks at his friends and he realizes that the home that he feels most at home at is with them, even though they've been traveling across the wilderness. And he says, home isn't always a place, is it? Home isn't always a place. It is who we are with. And when we call out in the midst of our travels, when we feel uncertain, when we are back and forth, and Brenda's pretty amazing. Brenda, you've been to Oshawa, Peterborough, you're going to Napanee tomorrow. I think she's going by dog sled to New Liskeard, is that right? A lot of you folks are traveling. It's pretty impressive in terms of the different ways that you connect with the people that you love and that you cherish. We are all travelers through this life, and there are always going to be moments where home doesn't feel quite perfect. But perhaps we can take comfort with the Christ child who spends that time in the hostel or the hotel that's more like a Ramada Inn, or perhaps even a tent like this one. We know that Jesus, the Christ, travels with us in all of our journeys, in all the imperfections of our home, even when we're not able to be with the ones that we love. The one who loves us is always coming into our lives. This Christ child, this vulnerable one, this little baby arrives in our hearts on this night, and in him we can find our home. And perhaps the question that we can ask, along with Tim Baker, who wants to be able to, even if he doesn't quite get back to the place that he knows, he asks that any angels or saints listening, that his love can be sent back to them. And perhaps we can just take a moment. Is there somebody right now, folks, that you would like to send your love to? Who is that person or people in your life? Can we take a moment now, and just in the quiet of our hearts, let's take another couple deep breaths and think of those people who we want to send our love to. Let's breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. In this place, we find home with the Christ who loves us. We send that love to those who are near and dear to us. And in this chosen family that we have come together as on this night, we can rejoice and we can say, thanks be to God. Amen. Folks, do you have your glow sticks with you? Is it okay? Is anybody scared of the dark? Can I turn out the lights over here? And we're going to have the words up at the front. You can see okay there, Diane? If I, okay. Do you know how to do this? You crack it a few times and you shake it up like that? Okay, good work. I just love this, isn't it great? And you can wave them back and forth. You can make me feel like I'm a rock star tonight. Let's sing together, all four ones and humble.
Surround you.
rise as we bless one another at the close of our service. I'll invite you to raise your hands as we bless one another, and we'll speak these words responsively. Your part is in bold. This night before Christmas, throughout this whole place, may the blessings of Jesus each fill us with grace. And let us exclaim as we drive out of sight,
Merry Christmas to all, and to all our good nights.
And friends, as you go from this place, know that while each one of us are travelers, we also move towards our home in Christ. Share the good news of the Christ child. Share the love of that holy family, and be a chosen family to one another and to the wider world. I'll invite you now to sing from your the pages that you received when you came in this evening, and we'll go out and we'll sing Silent Night as we head out to our cars together.